Within this video, we will show the functionalities of the tasks page. So within the tasks page, first of all, you see the overview of the tasks. If we look at the tabs on the top, we have the identifier, which is just the identifier that is named within Alumio, the entity schema, which defines which kind of identifiers you would see in the entity identifier. If it's not in there and the data is short enough, it would show up as the complete data there as well. If nothing is found, it will put in the null. If you have them defined, it will put in the defined identifiers. Would you put in nothing but the data is too long, then it will create a hash, form it, and then put that hash over there. Afterwards, we see the status, which could be, of course, be filled, skipped, finished, or new. And then we see the route, which is also clickable to take us to that route directly. Then we see the created ad and the updated ad, which are kind of understandable by its own. Then we have the actions, and within the actions, we can, for example, retry a task. The moment that a task is new, you can also click on to skip that task. So for example, if we would say, okay, we would like to retry this task, but we actually didn't want to, we can then click on the skip button. Then to zoom on the buttons that we have here on the top left, we can search by a specific route and therefore only get the tasks that are connected to that one specific route. So in this case, we could say, for example, the customers from Odoo to SAP, and we get all of the tasks that are connected to this route. We could also then select on like, okay, we only want to see the ones that are, for example, skipped, and we only get a list of that. We could do similar for like created ads and updated ads to add specific ranges. What is more interesting is that we can say, for example, on certain like identifiers, that we can say like, okay, everything that has an identifier of 10 in there, I want to see how it happened and when it went through. And this way you have a very specific list of seeing like, okay, what kind of information came through at what moment, what kind of status did it have? And you have the possibility of going through the list as well through pagination that is used here on the top right. You could also, if you want to, select or deselect a certain columns if you don't want to see all of them. From here, it's also possible to zoom into the individual task itself, where you get an overview, once again, of the identifier within Alumio, the entity schema, the entity identifier, the status, to the route, which is clickable again. We also have the possibility of seeing the entity data in here. Within the entity data, it's also possible to copy the entity object from a specific point, for example, from address, or just the city or company, or also the complete object, to then use that elsewhere, for example, the entity transformer. We also can see the import message, which is how did it come in the system? Was there certain filtering? How was the task created? And the export message of seeing like, okay, how was this task sent out? Were there any errors or anything like that? And this is also where you would see that if there is a specific fill task, let's see if there is a specific fill task within this system. We can say a fill task, we apply that, and there we have to go back in the pagination. We see here that one was filled. We can actually check for the export message that we then also can see in export message, which has like a very specific export message depending on the API system that you're talking to, of like certain parameters missing, what kind of error there is. This in this case is a 400, could be a 401, could be a 404, or many others of those similarly like error messages. And therefore you have like a quick look without having too much knowledge of either the integration or Alumio itself to see what it was wrong with the integration, and then maybe provide that to someone that is more familiar with those systems, and therefore you can solve your problems that way. So that is all connected within this page of the tasks overview.